All right, let's talk about chapter 96 of Bibliomancers. So, what does it actually take to get yourself sent to literal hell? Well, this chapter shows us the answer is surprisingly simple and also really complicated. It's all about saying one little word: no. We're going to break down this whole chapter, which, let me tell you, starts with a pretty dry lesson in economics and just spirals into an absolute gut punch of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it all kicks off with what seems like a totally normal conversation between friends. But it spirals out of control so fast. And that question, what happens when you just say no, gets a terrifying, and I mean literal, answer. This chapter is all about the price you pay for defiance in a system that demands you just shut up and comply.
So, the scene opens with our main character, Jack, and she is just schooling her friend Peter on the, let's call it, harsh reality of heaven's so-called paradise. See, he's thinking about going there, and Jack is basically like, hold on, you need to know something. She gives him this huge warning. The entire system, it's a total scam. It's rigged from the start.
And she does not mince words. She lays it out for him plain and simple. Heaven? Not a paradise. It's a workforce. It's basically a machine that's designed to keep everyone trapped in this endless cycle of earning points. Points that can be taken away for, any reason at all. It makes actually ascending a statistical impossibility. It's a really sharp critique, right, of any system that promises you can get ahead but is secretly designed to keep you exactly where you are.
So Peter, hearing all this, asks her, well, how would you run the scam? And without even blinking, Shikam comes up with this cynical but honestly brutally effective system. It's a pretty dark moment because it shows you just how well she understands the mechanics of this messed up world. She gets it. And you realize she's not afraid to play their game if she has to.
And this comparison right here, it just perfectly illustrates the huge difference between the two afterlives. When you think about it, heaven is selling this grand spiritual promise of ascension, a promise that's almost impossible to actually achieve. But hell offers real, tangible benefits right now: better food, a better place to live. So one sells you a dream, and the other offers you a straight-up transaction.
And then you see this number, 22,000 years. That just drives the whole point home, doesn't it? They do the math, and based on her friend Harry's average points, and remember, that's before any boss decides to deduct points just for fun, it would take him 22 millennia. That's insane. So the system isn't just hard, it's designed to be literally impossible.
Okay, so right here, the whole conversation takes a very sharp turn. Jack pulls out this photo of her grandfather to show Peter. Now, this photo is forbidden, and it's basically the reason she's even in the afterlife to begin with. And just as she's showing it to him, who shows up? Cheryl, the authoritarian bureaucrat. And suddenly, this whole theoretical chat about a rigged system becomes dangerously real. And Cheryl just immediately goes on a power trip. First thing she does, minus 10 points each, not just for Jock, but for Peter too, who was just looking. Then she demands Jock hand over the photo, the last thing she has of her grandfather. It's such a classic move, right? Using these petty little rules just to show everyone who's in charge.
Now, Jack, she could not care less about the points, so she refuses. And this is where a simple little rule violation starts to escalate fast, and it gets terrifying.
I mean, she's been pushed to her absolute limit by Cheryl's, petty tyranny and just plain old prejudice, and Jacques just snaps. She goes from simple defiance to a direct personal attack. She is drawing a very, very clear line in the sand here.
And this is where the threats get really dire. Cheryl makes it crystal clear what's on the line. The ultimate punishment, being thrown into literal hell, is just one more no away. She's not messing around.
And with these, her final words of defiance, Jack makes her choice. She does not back down. She seals her fate with just two simple words.
And then, pop. Just like that. The consequence is immediate. It's absolute. There's no bureaucracy, no appeal process. She's just gone. So where does she end up? Floating. In an endless black void. The silence is total, the darkness is complete. It's this completely disorienting new reality. But she isn't alone for long. Her very first encounter is with a demon, and his greeting is bizarre. It's so out of place. It immediately sets this strange, almost darkly funny tone for this place. Yeah, this is not your typical fire and brimstone hell.
This is something much, much weirder.
And Jock's reaction, it just says everything. She's not screaming in terror. She's just confused. She's trying to make sense of this completely absurd situation, and she latches onto the weirdest possible detail.
So the demon starts explaining how literal hell works. It's got its own set of very bizarre rules. He says stuff like, sexism is just the norm because, and this is a direct quote, the Antichrist canceled woke. It's such a chillingly casual thing to say, and it really sets the stage for the kind of psychological games that are about to be played.
And that brings us to the core of what Jack's new existence is all about. This isn't about eternal damnation in the way you might think. It's about a twisted, personal bargain that she has to strike with her very own assigned torturer. So, the demon lays out the deal. 4 hours of torture a day. But hey, silver lining? Her ADHD is cured. It's so weird. And then, just as casually, he drops this absolute bomb of psychological warfare on her. He tells her that her girlfriend is going to move on soon, and not just with anyone, but with Arthur Farthing, a guy they both absolutely despise.
And he doesn't stop there. He twists the knife even deeper by giving her this cruel, almost clinical explanation for why her girlfriend would end up with someone so awful. The whole thing is designed for one purpose, to inflict the most emotional pain possible. He's basically framing her girlfriend's grief as a weakness that's going to lead her straight into the arms of a total user.
So they continue this strange back and forth. It's this bizarre mix of the demon's really crude humor and Jock's super sharp comebacks. And in the middle of it all, she makes this little offhand comment, a comment that is about to lead to the chapter's final, absolutely chilling revelation.
Of course, the demon, who is a master manipulator, immediately picks up on what she said. He senses an opportunity and just presses her for an answer, ready to turn her own words right back against her.
So she tells him his humor, this crude, insult comic style, reminds her of her friend Groucho. It seems like a totally innocent comparison, right? But what she doesn't realize is she has just handed this demon the perfect piece of leverage.
And with this final, horrifyingly casual line, the demon drops the other shoe. He reveals that her friend, Groucho, is in mortal danger because of her. He's walking right into a monster's trap, a trap on a scouting mission that Jack herself sent him on. And the chapter just ends, right there. We're left with this terrifying thought. Her defiance didn't just cost her her freedom, it might have just cost her friend his life.